cursed. Cursed. We all go a little mad sometimes.
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula.
I saw the boogeyman. I saw him outside.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Hey everybody, welcome to Two Move Terrors with me, Old Man Brad. Whether you are new to the show or returning for another episode, thank you so much for giving me a listen. If you love the show, drop me a review on your favorite podcast app, or you can become a patron, patreon.com/oldmanbrad. Also, make sure that you follow me on Letterboxd. Just look for Old Man Brad on Letterboxd, and you can see all the watches that I do. All right, this week I have another interview for you and another quick review on a Tubi movie this time. No, we didn't do this as a Tales from Tubi, but Match, which came out a few weeks ago, you can watch on Tubi, and I have an interview with the director of the movie, Danishka Esterhazy. So excited for you to be able to hear that. Before we dive into all things Match, I just want to say if you are in the Cincinnati area, come out to Frightful Fridays on the third Friday of the month. So thankful to be partnered with the Esquire Theater to host a horror screening once a month. We just had a screening of Fright Night, which was awesome. It was a great crowd. We premiered a short film called Dracula in front of it. But next month, in December, we're going to finish off the year with some Christmas horror. Of course, on December 19th, we're going to have Silent Night, Deadly Night. The original film from 1984. I know the remake, I think, comes out the week before our Frightful Fridays screening. But come out December 19th at 10 p.m. and let's watch a movie together. It's time to open up that dating app and swipe. Which way do you swipe? Left or right? I don't know. But let's talk about Match.
Al was in trouble. She was supposed to meet a guy and she never came home.
After Paola is matched with a handsome online suitor, she arrives for a first date to discover a house full of dark and terrifying secrets. This is written by Alan John Kaplan, directed by Danishka Esterhazy. It stars Humberly Gonzalez, Cheyenne Jimenez, Diane Simpson, Jacques Adriance, and many others. And this is available to watch on Tubi. I'm going to tell you right up front, I enjoyed this movie. It's a dark movie, one of those films that the online dating world can be a scary place. I'll give more of my thoughts on the movie after my interview with Danishka. I was so happy to be able to talk to her because she's directed the Banana Splits movie. She directed the Slumber Party Massacre remake last year. You can listen to an episode with myself and Matt Konepka, the killer horror critic, as we talked about her film Killer Body Count, which is also streaming on Tubi. The Banana Splits movie is one of my favorites. I love it, so I was excited to be able to talk to her. But let's dive into my chat with Danishka Esterhazy, and I will talk to you on the other side. My guest today is no stranger to the horror world, with such films as the Banana Splits movie, the Slumber Party Massacre remake, and Killer Body Count, which I have talked about in a previous episode. Her new movie, Match, is streaming on Tubi right now. I'm excited to welcome in Danishka Esterhazy. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you.
For those who don't know what Match is, tell us a little bit about the Match.
Match, well, it's a horror movie. It's a contained thriller horror movie about the perils of online dating. So it's the story of Paola, a young woman who's been unlucky in love, and she's trying to find her soulmate, and she matches with a young man named Henry, and she goes to his house. He's invited her over for a home-cooked meal, but when she arrives at the house, it turns out to be not what she expected, and she ends up in great danger and peril.
No, it does not. So what attracted you to this project?
Well, it's a great script. It was a spec script that had been sent to me, and it was written by John and Al Kaplan, who'd done a really great movie, written an amazing movie for Tubi called Lowlifes, which I thought was really excellent. And they're just really great writers in terms of crafting suspense and reversals and surprise and taking you in directions you don't expect. I find that their scripts are never predictable, which I really love. And I loved Paula as a character. You know, she's a resilient and hopeful, and she goes through really hellish adventures. And I really loved the character of Henry. I just thought was a really interesting horror villain with a lot of complexity and layers. So I was quite excited, just from reading the story on the page.
And you mentioned your characters. How did you come about, like, casting it's a younger cast, but casting your actors for those roles?
Well, Umberly Gonzalez, who plays Paula, is an actress I'd already worked with on a TV show called Ginny in Georgia. And I really love her. She's just a fantastic actor. And I've been a fan of hers for many years. She was in my friend Jem Gerard's horror movie, Killer High, way back. And she's just awesome. So, I immediately thought of Umberly and immediately hoped to book her because she's so great. And then kind of built the cast around her. And I knew we were going to be shooting in Cape Town, South Africa, where I've shot several times with a great production company called Blue Ice Africa. Because I've shot there many times, I know that there's really excellent actors in Cape Town and Johannesburg and Durban. So we put out an open call and then just, looked for people who really had a spark, people who, really brought a special kind of energy to their role.
Mentioned at the top, it's about the kind of the darker side of online dating. What influences, kind of as you had the script, you were figuring out kind of how setting up the movie, like, was there any influences, anything in that world that you kind of studied to bring to it? Because the online dating world can be, I'm so thankful I don't have to worry about that, but it can be, in my mind, a scary, scary place.
Yeah, it can. It can be a really unpleasant place. I have a lot of girlfriends who are. I'm married, so I'm off the market. But I have a lot of girlfriends who still are on online dating and who share their horror stories and their dick pics. And we discuss the strange encounters that they have with men they're trying to match with, and it's sad because what's more lovely than, romance and relationships and finding people you can connect with. But sometimes you have to go through a lot of very unpleasant experiences to find that. So I thought it was a really timely story, but I also thought it was kind of a timeless story because a lot of the things about the script really reminded me of fairy tales. I'm obsessed with fairy tales. I did a lot of fairy tale adaptations as short films when I first started out, and I made a few features that were inspired by fairy tales. And Match really reminded me of a combination of Bluebeard and Beauty and the Beast. And I thought there was, because so many fairy tales are about young women trying to find their prince, right? Mm-hmm. And in the original stories by the Grimm's brothers, those stories often go to very, very dark places. They go to places with, mutilation and cannibalism and murder and torture, and these are stories that were told to children. But so to me, it was really a fairy tale setup. She's looking for her prince, and then she ends up with this monster. And I thought, it'd be really great to draw on some fairy tale type imagery. Plus, she's stuck in this house. It's kind of like being stuck in a dark fairy tale castle in a lot of ways. All the windows are boarded up and everything's very mysterious and scary.
I didn't even think of it as a fairy tale, but yeah, she thinks she found her prince, like it's her Prince Charming, and it goes a little differently than she hoped it would. Let's just say that.
That's right.
What were some of your big challenges kind of bringing this together?
Well, we didn't have a big budget. Which is always a challenge when you're trying to do horror and you're trying to do practical effects. Because I always try to do practical effects, and I don't like to rely on VFX. I like to do my blood work practical in camera. And I knew we needed a pretty big monster build for Henry. We'd need a serious prosthetic build and design and build. So that was, I guess, my first question was, okay, are we going to be able to find a really strong prosthetic team who can deliver, who can create Henry? And will we have enough time to shoot with Henry? Because, of course, prosthetics take a really long time to apply. We didn't have, we weren't like Frankenstein. We didn't have 120 days to shoot.
Yeah.
We had 18. So, right there, it's like, okay, there's some restrictions on time. So we were very lucky because there's actually like a world-class prosthetic company in Cape Town that's been Emmy nominated and has done tons of work on shows like One Piece on Netflix and on shows like Raised by Wolves for Apple. So that's a company called Dreamsmith. Yaku Snyman is the owner and designer of Dreamsmith, and they're like very, very experienced. They've done massive, massive films, and they're right there in Cape Town. They were interested. Luckily, we sent them the script, and they liked the challenge, and so we knew we had the team that was talented enough to make it. And then it was just the logistics of like, okay, how long will the Henry costume take every day? And we didn't actually have enough budget to have the Henry costume every day because large parts of the costume, large parts of the head application were kind of one-time use. We had a 3D printer that would make the molds and we'd make the silicone pieces. But, after they were moved at the end of the day, they were toast. Like the shoulders and the lower body stuff was reusable, but most of the face stuff was one-time use. So every time we used it, it cost money. So we couldn't have the monster in for 18 days. We just didn't have enough money for that many prosthetics. I think we had something like 10 days we could have enough pieces to do. And then we had to do some tests because the original estimates were that it was going to take about 6 hours to put the Henry costume on. And we're only shooting 12-hour days without pre-calls and without wrap, because it was very low budget. So we thought, well, if we lose 6 hours out of the day plus lunch, like we'll really have like maybe 4 hours to shoot with Henry each day that he's there. And we only have him for 10 days. Can we make that work? That's really, really tight. The full prosthetics team who came in from Dreamsmith, a 4-person team who applied the Henry prosthetics every day, after some practice, they got the application time down to about 3.5 hours, which meant that we had a lot more time during the day to shoot with Jacques, who played Henry. So that really saved us because it meant that we just had enough time to shoot his scenes, which I was quite worried about.
As you were talking about, I was going to ask like that, putting it on as you were kind of working with that team to design his look. Did you you had to obviously take that into account of like, okay, if we make him look this way, how long is that going to take, or will this be able to work?
Yes, like so much of that is a conversation back and forth, because your prosthetics designer is an artist and they have an amazing vision, but then you've also just got the practicality of, how many pieces can we afford? How much time can we afford to apply it? What will it look like in this situation? Plus, you have to go through the script and be like, okay, these are the physical requirements the character has to do. He has to throw dead bodies around. He has to toss his mother through the ceiling tiles. He has to attempt to assault Paola on the ground. Like he has to have all this kind of mobility stuff too. So the design also has to take into account, how can they move their arms in this costume? How much expression do they have in their face for this costume? Because of course, it takes a special talent for an actor to be able to emote through silicone.
Yeah.
Not everybody can do it. It's really hard because there's a lot of restriction on your natural expressions. And, it really comes down to the eyes and it really comes down to a sort of a really specific, larger physicality for expressing yourself. And so you need to find somebody who can really do that. For the auditions, I asked all the actors who were, applying for Henry to do some scenes from The Elephant Man because I thought, that's a really good opportunity to sort of show like a restricted use, just in a self-tape, even though they're not covered in prosthetics, to see if they can be nonverbal and to see if they can, move in unusual ways. And luckily I found an actor who was actually really excellent at all of those things. So, yay, thank you, Jacques.
And, the film, at first you think it's online dating, she's finding that guy. Is this too good to be true? How was it kind of keeping the secret, so to speak? Did you shoot a lot of that beginning before and then brought the actors in that first day Henry was on set, like to kind of like, okay, here he is, surprise them?
No, we had to, we put a lot of pressure on the actors to bring their surprise because they had a lot of stunt rehearsals, beforehand, and they were involved in a lot of the tests. So there was no keeping it from them, but they're amazing actors, and so they were able to get into the right headspace. I think without too much difficulty.
How have audiences, reacted to Match so far? It's been out on Tubi for a couple weeks now.
Yeah, since October 3rd. The reaction's been really great. It's been super satisfying because I guess I was really anxious about releasing this film because I really wanted to take people on a journey, and I really wanted to surprise them with Henry, and I really wanted all the different hidden secrets to not be spoiled in advance. And so I had a lot of conversations with Tubi saying, please help me with this. Like, please let's try and keep as much of the mystery and the surprise as possible. Please don't put Henry on the poster. Please don't put Henry in the trailer. Like, let's really deliver, his arrival to the audience is in as surprising a way as possible. And Tubi they were fantastic there. The PR department, they totally got it, and they really embraced, holding back the spoilers. I've seen amazing reaction videos on TikTok from people who are watching the film. They're genuinely surprised that people were really, taken on a roller coaster, which is great because that's what the script promised. It was to take people in surprising ways, but it can be so easy if the information's out too early for people to not get that experience.
And you mentioned working with Tubi to make sure nothing got revealed. You had previously worked with them on Killer Body Count. You kind of had that rapport with them before. How has working with them been?
Well, and I have an even longer rapport because my executive at Tubi is Josh Van Hoot, and I've worked with him at Sci-Fi Channel on many, many projects, including Slumber Party Massacre and Banana Split. So Josh and I have worked together on lots of horror movies, and we have a really good shorthand. And I feel very lucky to work with him because he's one of those executives who he really loves horror. Genuinely, he's a big fan of it. He really understands the genre. And he's also really supportive of his directors, gives them a lot of creative space. And he's also a huge champion for women directors, which is amazing in genre because, things have changed and there's more opportunities, but there can still be some real barriers for women in genre to book jobs, to be taken seriously, to be given the resources. So it's nice that Tubi is really putting their money behind diverse creators, and I've benefited from that quite a lot.
Your horror movies, you've turned a kids show into a horror movie. Your remake, has very strong female characters, an LGBTQ teen slasher. Now, this online dating world. What's next for you in the horror world? It seems like you're quite running the gambit here.
Yeah, I've had the great luck to be given some really interesting projects that have that are very original and have interesting worlds and interesting characters. And that's what I look for. I read a lot of horror scripts. I'm always looking for something just a little unusual, something I can really sink my teeth into. And I do have another Tubi thriller coming up in January, February. I can't talk about it yet, unfortunately. I'm under press embargo. But it's also something I'm really excited about, with great characters and it's based on a quite well-known horror novel. So I'm really looking forward to starting to break that apart. I'm kind of in what they call soft prep. We're not really in prep yet, but I'm already, making lots of plans.
Well, I'm going to make sure we watch for that one coming early next year. Danishka, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to chat with me. I enjoyed Match, and I've loved watching everything you've done so far. I'm a big fan of the Banana Splits movie.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, it's actually my ringtone, the tra-la-la song. I'm always thinking about the Banana Split.
So where can people kind of follow along to you to see what you have coming up next?
I'm pretty active on Instagram, posting behind the scenes footage and announcements. And I have a mini YouTube channel where I've been posting some longer behind the scenes discussions on shows like Match and my action movie Sniper, The Last Stand. So yeah, that's probably the best place to find me. I like engaging with fans, and I love feedback. So it's always nice to hear people's take on the movie.
Thank you again for chatting with me. Look forward to what's next, and yeah, keep up the awesome work.
Thank you so much.
I want to thank Danishka again for taking time out of her day to chat with me. It was awesome being able to talk with her. Can't wait to see what that next project she is doing on Tubi. Keep our eyes peeled for that future project that is coming to Tubi next year. But Match. This is a movie that dives into kind of the horrors of that online dating. And, thinking about it, like everything lines up perfectly. Online dating, doing an app, talking to someone online and meeting them giving you this false kind of narrative of who they are just that alone can be a scary place. And then the writers on this movie, Alan John Kaplan, they were involved in another Tubi original called Lowlifes, which is a fantastic movie. If you haven't seen Lowlifes, go check that one out. And shameless plug, go search out my previous episode where I talked to the directors of that movie. But they wrote this. You have this dark world of, I don't want to say dark world, but this world of online dating. Paola, she just wants to, like I said, which way? Do you swipe left, right? I don't know. But going through an online dating app, she comes across Henry, who she thinks he's too good to be true kind of thing. And they connect and they do some video chats online. They're going to meet for dinner. She comes to the house. Things take a little bit of a dark turn. It basically turns into a fight for survival after this. And I loved how this movie kind of took a turn going in. If you watch the trailer, you'll kind of see where that turn is. And I will tell you, don't look up anything about Henry or the creature or anything in this movie. I think the less that you know going in, you'll enjoy it that much more. I knew some going in, but not that much. I only watched part of the trailer before I watched this when it released. And when I saw that it came on Tubi, I saw that Danishka directed it. And I love all of her other movies, the other horror movies she's done. So I was like, oh, yes, I want to watch this one. I've enjoyed all the other movies she's done previously. And I honestly wasn't disappointed. I mean, she did a good job, and the writers, of course, of setting up this online dating world. Paola and her sister, there's this side story of this. They're not estranged to their father, but there's some, there's distance from her father of where she lives and connecting and everything else. So they kind of have this family side story. And then she gets into this dating world, this date where she thinks, oh my gosh, this Henry, he's so perfect. He's so great. Can't wait to meet family, everything else. Shit happens. She's trapped in this house. There's this creature. There's other darker things with the family going on. Her sister's trying to find her. I will just say, I'm not going to spoil it, but I'll just say nobody's safe in this. Just go in knowing that nobody's safe. And it turns into a cat and mouse chase of Paola. She is just trying to escape. Sister's trying to find her. This creature and this creature's mom and other things with the family and other people they have in this house. So think of it kind of a little bit like a, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where you have a crazy family bringing people in to kind of kill them. This is close to along those lines with a much different twist to it. They're not just bringing them in to eat them because they're cannibals. There's a different reason why. In the end, I enjoyed this movie. It was a great watch. I think I gave it's like a 3.5 out of 5 for me. I would watch it again for sure. Highly recommend checking out Match on Tubi. Highly recommend watching a lot of things on Tubi. Let's just say that. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Match. I don't want to dive too far into it because I'm afraid I'm going to give a lot away. I think the less that you know going in, the more you will enjoy the film and just have a fun, dark ride throughout this till you get to the end. All right, well, that will do it for my thoughts on Match. And I want to leave you with a nice Tubi double feature you can do. And since it's a holiday week, this episode's coming out the week of Thanksgiving. I'm going to give you a movie that takes place during the Thanksgiving holiday time. Not necessarily, the big feast and fully Thanksgiving, but it takes place during that time. And that is the movie Christy from 2014 about a college co-ed, and she ends up staying at college during the break when everybody goes away. And then this one, it's kind of almost a home invasion type of film where these invaders come into the school. There's reasons why they're there, what they are doing. Another cat and mouse chase, dark movie. If you haven't seen Christie, I definitely recommend checking it out. But that's my double feature for this week. You can watch Match and Christie. Both movies are available on Tubi. So see, a nice free double featured night. That's enough of my ramblings on this episode. Just make sure you subscribe to the show so you don't miss any episode that I do over here, whether it's these interview episodes, quick reviews, Tales from Tubi, Versus, which came out last week. It's a series I do with my wife. We have a holiday one coming in the next few weeks, but make sure you subscribe and you will never miss any episode over here. Just want to say thank you so much to everyone who listens, who shares, who comments, who is a patron of the show, everything. Thank you so much. I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday. I'll be back soon with a brand new episode. Just snuggle up in that blanket, turn off the lights, because it's okay to be scared. We'll talk to you later, everybody.